Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics. Welcome back. So today's video I want to do a little bit of a demonstration. I'm drawing with the Intuos 4 tablet. So the sketch that you see here has been drawn with that. And I want to talk about a couple things. I want to talk about drawing character art like this with this type of tablet, a little bit on that because we've touched on that topic before. And I think a lot of people think that you really have to have a Cintiq or a iPad Pro and things like that. And I use those, but I also like to tell people, you can get started with the regular Intuos. I just do a little bit different drawing process. So this is still in the rough sketch stage, but I'll show you kind of how it started. And I'm sorry, there was actually a level before this, but you can see it's quite different even from there to there as far as the pose and what I work through. So I start off very loose, and you can see like these first few shapes right here are just, a line. I'll usually do like a little bit of cylinder stuff if I have to, maybe something like that. But when I draw with the Intuos, I tend to keep the pen down on the surface longer, a lot more. I think of it a lot more like I'm molding the artwork. Just like when I 3D sculpt, I actually prefer using the Intuos tablet. It just feels a little bit more natural in that process. Now I do feel like I'm a little bit faster on a direct-to-surface device, but that is because I lean on that device more. There are certain areas where I feel like this device is better for drawing because it for one, your hand's not in the way, which is really nice. Two, you can use a larger screen. You can use any size screen you want. And lastly, it's the ergonomic feel of it. So I can really sit back and draw, or I can posture up different ways. I've got a lot more range of movement with the smaller tablet. I use a 4x6 version that I could set on my lap pretty easy and things like that. So at any rate, back to the drawing process. So what ends up happening, you can see I got some real bad anatomy going on here and stuff like that. And so I'll start off, I'll just get an idea in place and start throwing in some shapes. And, I start very loose. So if you see like a lot of the scratchiness to the musculature, I, I, I guess I draw this way with this particular tablet where, say I'm drawing, let me try to refine something. Say I'm trying to refine the shoulder here, right? So I start off very scratchy and I'm just loosely, two things. I'm loosely sketching. I'm also very lightly sketching. Okay, so I'm not trying to put some harsh line in place and be very specific at this point. And I think that's really important to note with this type of tablet, that you really want to take your time working up the forms. So get some information in place, stay very light, very fluid. Not even fluid. I don't know if that's the right word. Just lightly get that information in place. Okay, and then come back with your soft erase, knock it down a bit. Start looking for imperfections. Like there's definitely some huge imperfections on scale, even though this is obviously an imaginative drawing, but still, there's some big incorrectness there. So I can soft erase that down. I can come back in. Now see, like right there, let me illustrate this for you. See how I'm getting a crooked line right there? I'm not good at making that pull from that direction. So you do have to like work with the mechanics of it a bit. I rotate a lot more with this device than I would with my Cintiq, and then I can get that line almost perfect. I see I missed right there too. And like anything else, the more you do it, the less you're going to have to rotate and change things. You'll just get better at the mechanics of it as well. But for me right now where I'm at, I still use a little bit of the other tools to help me through it. I don't use any stabilization. I know some people really recommend it. I turn mine off on all my brushes just because I really want to see the line that I'm putting down. And I also don't think that you should be too overly critical of every line. I think that stiffens up your drawing and will, kind of weaken. Well, it depends on the style you're going for, but it'll sometimes be a hindrance to you. So don't be so overly critical. And so I get a little bit of this in. Again, I got to rotate. I'm better at kind of this downward pull with this device. So I do that. And so on and so forth. Now, so that's what I keep doing. And I may have to soft erase and adjust this a few times. You see that shoulder looks really weird. Um, that's why if you notice by here to here, I edited that quite a bit, and I still need to work on the forearm here. So this is the other thing. So I basically sculpt the artwork is the way that I see it a little bit more. Uh, and I constantly make changes. So you can see there's a pretty big change from the pose from right there to there. It still looks pretty weird. His legs look a bit small, but I was trying to go for that foreshortened hand being larger. So I wasn't intentionally trying to make the legs look a little bit smaller. They look weird in the squattiness and the bulge of the anatomy, so I did away with that. I kept trying it, so you'll see I keep, here I did I was thinking more like a surfer dude leaning back and, whatever. So I just keep maneuvering the artwork, and I do this a lot in my work process. So what I'll do is I'll just take a copy of this, drag it to a new layer. It'll make a backup copy. Move that over. And then I'll check the work. I'll just change things around, and then I'll go back and compare it to the previous step. So that's another way that I work through it. And I pretty much do that with any drawing device that I'm working with. But I really recommend being open to changes like that. The more that you make those quick changes to your work and experiment, the better you'll get with your drawing. And it doesn't matter what device you're using for that to happen. That's just something you got to get in your head as being okay. And you can see some of these lines look relatively clean, and I haven't got to the final cleanup stage yet, but I'm able to keep working into it. So I almost think of it like with this tablet, that I start from a distance and I work into the drawing. So as I get more confident with what I want to see in the drawing, I tighten up by getting in there closer, scaling the brush down. And again, I may have to soft erase and redraw a couple more times to get my line weight right and my drawing right. But it is very doable, and it's not that overly time consuming. It's not like when I jump on this device, I spend way more time on an illustration. To tell you the truth, it's pretty comparable for some reason, and I don't know why. I know there's obviously pros and cons to every device and every way that you create. And I couldn't really illustrate exactly what those are for you, but all I know is some of my best work to date has come off of this tablet, and some of my quickest work. So one of my favorites that I did, if anybody saw it that's watching the video, I did this Orgrim Doomhammer, I think is what he's called. It's Orgrim from World of Warcraft. I did that entirely on this Intuos tablet. It took me less than 8 hours. It was a fully detailed painting. And I was really proud of that one. I was kind of felt like I leveled up on that one a little bit, and I kind of was inspired and had some great movie art to study from. And I was able to fly right through it with this tablet. And it was really me just saying I need to test myself and get back, because I hadn't used my Intuos tablet for a while. So I just want people to know that. So if you're under like price constraints, don't feel like you need to run out and buy a Cintiq, an iPad Pro. I mean, if you got the money, cool. They are great devices. I'm not knocking them. But just be open to using this. Even your mechanics, your hand control will get better. Like I'm doing this with these, and I've just got it sitting on my lap, and it's not perfection, so I can definitely feel a bit more control with the direct-to-surface tablets. But there's a lot to be said for not always being in control as well when it comes to creating. And lending more to experimentation to overcome any shortcomings you might have with the device, I think is another key thing to remember. So like you saw there, with me constantly editing the work, I'm constantly like adjusting this. I'm like, all right, what's wrong with this forearm muscle? It looks really, really weird, and can I fix it, or do I just have to do an entire redraw? So that's the other thing I do. I try to edit the work as many times as I can, but then I also try to think about, okay, if this isn't fixable, I've got to move on, and I do a full redraw. If I can't get it right just from memory and stylization or whatever, then I pull reference and say, screw it. I'm going to look at some muscular arms and figure out what's going on here. Maybe I pose in the mirror for a minute to get the right angle. Definitely not this cut or anything like that, but just reference. So, but I do try to do as much from my mind as I can. But sometimes you got to just realize that you got to strengthen your knowledge. Like I always struggle with like this forearm muscle, and you see I got it pretty large, and then the way these ones split out and separate. There's two of them, and I think they actually come from one under another like this. And then sometimes I just fake it. You know, that's again, that's that stylization choice. Like when I just say, what would just look cool in this area? You know, maybe it's not entirely correct, but what would, you know, get it done. And, you know, and I'm going to do a lot of rendering. This is, you know, Silver Surfer. So I'm going to do all these like little shadows and glares that further round out the form and further add an effect to the character. But I was just rough sketching this, and I did this really as a warm-up. Actually, I don't even know if I'll finish this one, but I did this just to kind of practice some poses, and again to draw on this particular device because I don't want to get out of habit with this, or out of practice, I guess, with this device, because there are just some really strong assets to it. I mean, mainly this. You know, I always think about like, what if my Cintiq breaks or my iPad Pro breaks? You know, if I totally just rely on those devices, then I'm really going to be in trouble. So I always come back to this one because, for one, this it's years old and it works fantastic. But if I had to replace it, it wouldn't kill me. You know, where the other ones I'd totally freak out, and yeah, I'd be pretty upset. So yeah, so hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight into that. I know it's not a perfect drawing, and you know, you guys are welcome to tell me what you think could be better. I'm always listening. I know I got to work on some shoulder and forearm anatomy here, maybe even the position of the chest. I'm really trying to get the perspective that, you know, he's coming out at you. He's got the blast of energy coming out towards, a little bit out towards camera. And then I was maybe thinking about, still deliberating on it, but I was thinking about the big tentacle things from Galacticus. Probably slaughtered the name. Galacticus, I don't know. His ship or whatever. And then I was going to draw like some of the markings. I'm from Michigan, so I'm going to put the little glove here. And, you know, do like the earth marking. So it looks like Silver Surfer's stopping Galacticus from harnessing Earth's energy, whatever. You know, that old chestnut of a story. Okay, so at any rate, hopefully this video has been informative for you or taught you a thing or two. Let me know what you think. And remember, you can follow me on Gumroad for video lessons and custom brushes. I always appreciate the support. So as always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and I will talk to you soon.